Welcome to this edition of In My Home, a show where two gentlemen discuss all things sport and what is just our humble opinion. I'm Pierre. This is the split decision, an aspect of the show that will focus solely on news and action in the sport of boxing. On the heels of what was a banner year for the Sweet Science, the 2014 fight year didn't do much to disappoint. It was a year that was filled with special performances and fight cards that went from average on paper to captivated by the night's end. Who can forget the re-emergence of Miguel Cotto, the first Puerto Rican-born fighter to win world titles in 4 different weight classes? His demolition of Sergio Martinez was certainly impressive, but the fact that Martinez was a 39-year-old fading champion battling both hand and knee injuries does take a bit off the wind, but it was a great performance for Cotto nonetheless. Sergey Kovalev handed the future Hall of Famer Bernard Hopkins the most one-sided defeat of his career, setting himself up for a big fight against John Pascal in March, and down the line, a huge fight with the lineal champion of the division, Superman Adonis Stevenson. It was a pristine performance for the Crusher, but it came against a 49-year-old Hopkins that may have thrown 16 punches the entire fight. And then there's the legendary Manny Pacquiao, who made WBO junior welterweight champion Chris Algieri look like a glorified sparring partner, knocking him down 6 times en route to a unanimous decision victory. Pacquiao's performance could easily be 2014's best, and it would be, except Chris Algieri had no business in the ring with Pacquiao. At the time of the fight, Algieri had 20 fights, all of which had been staged in his hometown of New York. His biggest win came against unproven 140-pound champion Ruslan Provodnikov. Algieri had never fought at the 147-pound limit, yet he was granted a shot at a world title his first fight at the weight class. And more importantly, he was granted a shot against the great Manny Pacquiao. It was an outstanding performance for Pac-Man, but the fact that it came against Chris Algieri takes just enough steam off the win to leave him just out of reach of the top performers of the year. That honor goes to Terrence "Bud" Crawford. On the night where he burst onto the boxing scene by defending his WBO lightweight title against the explosive Yuriorkis Gamboa, Bud took the first few rounds to fill out the slick Cuban, and in the process displayed his beard when he took some very good shots. And in round 5, Bud flipped the switch, as the southpaw stance that Roy Jones Jr. ridiculed him for 3 straight rounds prior to that created an opening which Bud exploited to send Gamboa to the canvas and seize control for the remainder of the fight. Bud knocked Gamboa down a second time in the 8th before finishing him in the 9th with 2 more knockdowns, the second a devastating uppercut. It was a star-making performance for Crawford, where he proved that he's the fighter with the most promise heading into 2015. Great performance, no doubt. But is it the fight of the year? It certainly has a strong case, but that honor goes to Matthysse Molina. Molina looked extremely impressive, knocking Matthysse down in the 2nd and 5th rounds, dominating the early portion of the fight. But the relentless style of Matthysse would overwhelm Molina in the later stages of the fight. A bludgeoned Molina was knocked down once in each the 8th and 10th rounds, and found himself down and out in the 11th after suffering his 3rd knockdown of the fight. No question Matthysse Molina was an exceptional fight. As far as the fight of the year goes, there's a few names that belong in the conversation. Gennady Triple G Golovkin, 3 fights in 2014, 3 knockouts. And 2 of the 3 fights, Daniel Gill and Marco Antonio Rubio, didn't make it past the 3rd round. The 3rd opponent, Osumanu Adama, only made it 7. Golovkin's unmatched power and underrated boxing skills make it increasingly harder for him to get the big fight, which effectively takes away from the quality of his wins. The before-mentioned Sergey Kovalev also notched 3 wins in 2014. He scored knockouts over Cedric Agnew and Blake Caparello before completely outmatching the legendary Bernard Hopkins in 12. Most years, Kovalev's 3-fight stretch would earn him Fighter of the Year status, but 2014 belonged to Terrence "Bud" Crawford. Crawford started the year by going to Scotland to win the WBO lightweight strap from Ricky Burns. He then returned home to Omaha, Nebraska to defend his crown in thrilling fashion against Gamboa in the fight of the year. Finally, he became the undisputed top dog at 135 by dominating Ray Beltran. Without question, Terrence "Bud" Crawford is the fighter of the year. The buzz of 2015 has already begun. With the end of the Cold War comes the possibility of so many great fights. I, for one, am anxious to see the return of fighters like Danny Garcia and Andre Ward, and the direction of their respective careers. Talks of a proposed super fight between two of the top fighters in our era have again surfaced. It's obviously not the fight it would have been 5 years ago, but it's still the best fight in boxing. Both fighters are no doubt past their primes, but Mayweather is still the best fighter in the world, and Pacquiao is no worse than top 5. The world will still stop to watch the most anticipated fight since Lewis and Tyson, and the success of the fight would without question bring more fans to the sport. Then there's the January 17th matchup between Bermane Stiverne and Deontay Wilder for the WBC's version of the heavyweight crown. A fight which puts Stiverne, a fighter of Haitian descent looking to become a U.S. citizen, against a U.S.-born knockout machine in Wilder. This fight is an explosion waiting to happen. The winner will face Vladimir Klitschko in a fight that can change the course of boxing. If Wilder beats Stiverne, as I predict, and goes on to beat Klitschko, America will have its first undisputed champion since Riddick Bowe in '92. Wilder is 32-0 with 32 knockouts, but for some reason can't convince most boxing critics that he is one of the best heavyweights in the world. He'll have his opportunity to silence the naysayers in 2015, but I'm a believer. There's a new great debate arising. What will do more for the sport of boxing? Mayweather-Pacquiao or the return of the American heavyweight? But that's a subject that deserves an episode of its own. That's going to bring a close to this edition of In My Humble. Remember, this is just my humble opinion. Please use the comment section below to voice yours. Thanks for watching.